Good morning, families and everyone watching. Welcome to Choklits. Today we have the co-owner of Choklits joining us today. Matt, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Amazing.
Want to get going.
We just have a quick little chat, nothing too serious. We're really excited to have Matt here and joining us for this podcast session. So, Matt, the whole of the podcast, we're going to be talking about children. We're going to be talking mostly in the context of like children. So, I wanted to ask you, how was young Matt like?
How was young Matt? Well, young Matt was very inquisitive. Apparently, I was, according to my mum, who we can trust, I was the sort of child that never stopped asking questions. And some would probably argue that that's carried through till today. So
Definitely.
that would be,
So,
overview.
did young Matt ever imagine you running 3 childcare centers? Like, what would young Matt feel like if he saw you now? What would he say?
Well, he definitely wouldn't have imagined running childcare centres, that's for sure. I always had a passion for business, a natural learner. I like growing. I feel most comfortable in that space.
I see.
So I think I was always going to do something in business, going to run something of my own eventually. But childcare specifically, no, I didn't know that early on.
Yeah.
But I'm very glad that it's worked out the way that it has. And to get to work in this environment with children, with people like yourself, it's perfect.
Oh, like I can always see that you had that business acumen in you, as I have read and you've told me as well, that you started delivering newspapers and then you had a plumbing business.
Yep.
What was that life like? Like, run me through, like, how was life before Chocolate?
Well, I grew up in a household of business owners. My parents owned their own business. So I guess I always had that somewhat, had that influence from an early age, right? So they encouraged me to get involved in things and learn and try new things and all that. And the paper round was my first job. I must have had that for 3 or 4 years, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't very smart, overly smart at school, and certainly had a lot of people that told me that as well. So as I ended school, the options for university for me were somewhat limited. So I chose to do an apprenticeship, and that goes back to that influence of business really early on. Because if I want to be a business owner, I thought, what's the quickest way that I can go from where I am right now to a business owner?
Yeah.
And it made no sense to me at that point in time to go and pay to learn when I can learn while getting paid doing an apprenticeship, and then hopefully if I learn enough through that period, I have enough knowledge to go and start my own business. And that's ultimately what I did and what happened. And I was even more fortunate that when I finished my apprenticeship, my primary school principal actually asked me to come back and do some maintenance on the school. So that was my first client, if you like, in the education space. So I was very lucky that that we had that relationship, that was able to happen. And from there, it just grew, and I ended up going, employing quite a few people, and then we moved into serving a more luxury market, luxury homes. We specialised in sort of like the inner suburbs of Melbourne, and we dealt with a lot of very wealthy people who held very big, real estate portfolios and had homes of their own, and we even did dealerships like Lamborghini and that sort of thing. So sort of started to branch out there. That's where we got to.
Definitely really exciting, from luxury homes to brands like Lamborghini. I just wanted to ask you, from the luxury homes and Lamborghini to early learning centers.
Yes.
Was there ever a moment when you were in your plumbing business that you thought was the moment that clicked, that you wanted to pivot to a different industry?
Yeah, well, there were several moments, but family drove and continues to drive a lot of our decisions. So the first, I believe, 2 of the first 3 years that Jade and I got to know each other, and we were dating at the time, I worked 2 of the first 3 Christmases. So because we were a 24-hour maintenance plumbing company, we were always on call. So if the phone rang, we went. What we very quickly worked out is that as we got a little bit more serious with our relationship and so on and so forth, and you think about, having a family one day, and that you realize that way of working doesn't really fit family life, always being on call and always maybe having to go. And, you know, I mean, imagine you have young kids and not being able to spend Christmas at home because a problem goes wrong somewhere, you know.
You have to believe.
And you've got to do that for your clients. That's what they expect. So that was when we went looking for a different alternative. And well, long story short, we ended up finding childcare, and here we are.
Yeah, we are. Amazing. So you and Jade started childcare, like Choklits, in 2016, I believe.
Yep, it was. I think we started looking for, if I remember correctly, we knew we wanted to be in childcare. We liked the idea of the business, and we couldn't find childcare for our own kids at the time. And that was part of the reason that, because we were on long waiting lists, we couldn't get in anywhere. And childcare at the time is not what it is today. We're going back, 10 years ago. And we just looked at what was happening in the industry and what was on offer in the industry, and we thought we could do it better. Maybe naively, but that's what we thought, yeah? So when we made the decision that we were going to look to get into the childcare business, from sort of making that decision to actually, it's very hard to get into the industry if you're not already in it. It took us 3 years before we were actually in and operating Choklits in Ringwood, our original centre. So.
Oh, wow. So you couldn't find suitable childcare for your children, so you decided to build one.
That's right. Exactly right. Exactly it. We thought for whatever reason that we could do it better. So
I think we've done an amazing job. So let's go back in time a little bit.
Sure.
What was it like, day one, walking in as the owner of Choklits? What was that day like?
Well, day one, I actually didn't come to Choklits. So I wasn't involved right from the very start. So we purchased the business, but I was still plumbing at the time because we were in a situation where it's a new business for us. So Jade, we purchased it, and Jade went in to work with Sue and the crew at the time. And we're very fortunate that she decided to stay, who was the director under the old owners. And that was certainly a big part of what was able to become, continue the success. But yeah, I didn't come for the first little while because I was still plumbing. And then what actually happened was we bought Choklits. It was a 52 place center. I think we had about sort of 22, 25 children a day, so it wasn't very full.
Yeah.
After we filled it, we decided to, because we had additional space and land, we decided to do a renovation. And that's when I really got involved with the trade background, sort of through that period. And then the business grew quite a bit after that. So I become much more involved. But initially it was all Jade.
It was all Jade. So you and Jade working together as partners and co-owners of Choklits.
Yes.
Do you guys work together complementing each other, or do you guys have separate roles and responsibilities that separates the workflow between the two of you?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, and we get that quite a lot, right?
Yeah.
Husband and wife, how do you work together? It's a good one. We have very different skill sets, which I think helps.
Yeah.
And we really do respect each other in those skill sets to make the right decision.
Absolutely.
So the way that I think about it is that if it's a decision that is Jade's area, if you like, it's her expertise, then we'll discuss it, and we have a lot of conversation about a lot of things, as you could imagine. But we'll always default to the person whose area of responsibility or expertise it is.
Got it.
Because we think that with experience, that person will make more decisions more correctly over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
So if you have, if you're a skilled educator, you're going to be much better at making those decisions on education consistently over time than someone who's not. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean that every decision that you get, you make will get right, or you'll make it will be right. You'll make mistakes, but in the end, if you take a longer term, a long enough view on it, rather, you'll default out in the best place, and that's how we've always thought about it.
Oh, that's really fascinating to understand the inner dynamics of how Choklits is run. So that piques my curiosity. Also, I know that you've said this a lot, but Choklits was built from a parent's perspective.
Yes.
How has your experience of life as a dad influenced your day-to-day or even the broader management decisions into building Choklits as a culture, a community, a family?
Yep. So I've always thought about children first and parents first.
Yeah.
Because that is ultimately who we're serving, right?
Yeah.
And if we don't continually remind ourselves of that perspective, we can default into our own. That we're only here because we have children.
Yeah.
And parents decide to send their children to Choklits, right?
Yeah.
So that always needs to form the basis of your decision, and it always needs to be, in my opinion, where your decision starts, right? So we've just always operated that way. Again, do we get everything right? Of course we don't.
Yeah.
But you always want to think in terms like communication, right? It's not what you say, it's what lands is actually the important thing, right?
Absolutely.
And that's how we think about it in terms of running Choklits.
No, yeah, like, you mentioned how Choklits was built on the foundation of you looking for something for your own kids.
Yep.
And that's what you explained in your answer right now as well. What I'm interested to know is that what was that you were looking for when you were looking for a childcare center for your kids that you were not able to find and that you incorporated into Choklits?
So when we first went looking, we couldn't get in anywhere. The quality of what they were doing inside the services was not great. It was very much what you received at a centre was very much based a lot of the time on what you pay. So there is a story that we've told our team quite a few times over the years, and when we first started Choklits, we did go and tour some other centres. And one of the things that Jade saw was she went and saw, she went into a centre and they were running an incursion, right? So they had some outside experienced educators come in to facilitate a learning experience. I can't recall what it is right now, but they were facilitating that. And then behind like this glass wall was a whole row of children who were all kind of like pressed up against the glass and looking at the children participating in this incursion. And Jade asked the person who was touring her at the time, are these children next? And they said, no, they're not next. Their parents didn't pay for the incursion, so they don't get to do it. They just have to stay behind the glass and watch their friends do it, right? So that sort of thing we just thought wasn't right, because we think that, or we still believe that children under 5 deserve a start in life, and being excluded from things like that is not the best, in our opinion, way to go about it. So that's where we made the decision. Jay got in the car, drove back to Choklits, and then we said, okay, we're gonna get more incursions. We're gonna put more in our curriculum. Everyone's gonna get access to it. It doesn't matter what your situation is outside of Choklits. When you're inside the Choklits walls, everyone's treated as equal. Everyone gets the opportunity, and hopefully we can go play some part in in children that come to Choklits being a positive influence on the start of their life.
And it's just it's wild to think that obviously with me and my experience working close to the children as well, near the age of 4 to 5, they are sponges of knowledge and information and how quickly they grab the information, and just thinking what must be going on in their minds when they were just pressed against the glass door looking at the incursion. What would their understanding have been that, oh, dad didn't pay for this, so I can't attend this, and what kind of impact that would have had on them. So yeah, it's just interesting to see how even the little decisions that the management or the owners might make can have such a profound impact on the children. So yeah, thank you for sharing that story.
I mean, just think, if a child's at that age looking there, I mean, what beliefs are they starting to form about what they can achieve in their life?
Absolutely,
You shouldn't have those, in our opinion, you shouldn't have those limiting beliefs when you're that age, right?
100%, yeah.
You should have the opportunity to learn and have the opportunity to take your life where you want to take it, and we hope that we give that opportunity to everyone.
Oh yeah, like that's such an amazing story to put into perspective, why we have these excursions and why everyone is involved, and it's not like something that people pay for, and like it's an inclusive thing. Everyone is involved. So thank you for sharing that. You've mentioned how many of so going back a little bit again to your plumbing business.
Yes.
You've mentioned how many of your apprentices went on to start their own businesses. So I wanted to ask you, what is the secret to developing future leaders?
The secret is that you've got to put time into everybody.
I see.
And not everyone will grab that opportunity, and that's okay, but you've got to do the best you can with what you've got at the time to give people the opportunity. As I said before, I'm a natural learner. I'm, most comfortable in that growth environment.
Yeah.
So we try to create that at Choklits, and I think that is really part of the foundation of helping people develop, creating that environment for them to develop in, right, in their own way. And then they will run with it to whatever level that they feel is comfortable for them, right? So I think it's about having some structure. You don't want to be overly dictatorial, I think is a word, in the way that you go about things, but you want to, in my opinion, you want to set up good sort of boundaries and guardrails. With things like systems, you don't want, robots, but you want people with structures, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I think if you teach a good structure, people run at their own pace.
Yeah, you give them a field, and then it's up to them how far they want to run in it. You just give them the playing field. So
because most people will, most people want to grow, right? And at different rates, but no one wakes up in the morning and says, gee, I wish I was a bit less good at this, or I wish I was a bit, not as far forward in my life at that, right? No one wakes up that way. So we all wake up with the, even if it's unconscious, the desire to grow, and we'll grow at the rates that we want to.
Oh, definitely. So leadership is certainly one of the things that you carried over from your plumbing business into early childcare education. Did anything else that you learned from that business? Is there anything else that you carried to early childhood education, or is there anything that you had to sort of, let's say, unlearn?
Unlearning is a big one. So there's two parts to this question. A small trade business is an unbelievable education in the way that people operate. Because I was, from very young, I was employing people, so I'm learning about managing people. I've got to go out and sell myself, my skills, my services. I've got to deliver on those. I've got to have my team deliver on them. I've got to go and collect money, so I have to communicate in a way that people want to be able to, or, who want to pay me. So, and you learn a lot about people when you have to deliver something in order to get money in return, right? It's a fair exchange thing, but it's a great training ground. So there's that, but in that small business environment, you get to do everything. You have to do everything yourself, right? So you get good at it. You have to get good at it. And I did it for 20 years or something, right? So you'd be you'd be an idiot not to get somewhat good at part of it. But when I came to Choklits and now the size organization that we have, a lot of those things, although they're skills you can lean on rather, they don't apply anymore, because our role as leaders, we need to actually get things done through our team now. So we can't just go and do it ourselves, as tempting as it is. And it took me a long time, you can ask Jade about this, it took me a long time to be comfortable with that. Because I'd get called out to a job, there's water coming through the roof, or there's sewer coming through the floor, or whatever. I'll go out, and in an hour's time, you'd solve it, and people were very thankful, and you're sort of like their hero for the day, right? Whereas when you grow to a bigger organization like us, there's none of that feedback anymore, because you're training someone, you're teaching your team, you're working with them. You don't get that immediate response. So when you're not getting that, am I winning, am I losing every day? It took me a while, quite honestly, to be able to deal with that and take a much longer term view with the way that, or the impact or the outcome that I'm gonna get. So that was tough, but I'm getting better at learning that now. But that's just one of the transitions from small to a larger business and growing, that fundamentally the way you go about your days is really, really different, although the skills apply in a broader scale.
And then it gets interesting how, like, as you mentioned, if there's a leakage, you get a call, you head straight there and you fix it yourself. But here in this context of, particularly now when you have 3 different childcare services, if you need to find the right people who can employ your values, but also have the skills and the ability to manage those centers and the situations that arise within. What does that process look like of selecting the right individuals to lead the team forward? Like, how do you work together with people to make sure that they're the right person?
Well, again, it's creating an environment for people to grow. And if you can create that, people naturally come into it. So there's probably, again, 2 parts to this. There's how you recruit outside, bring other people into your organization, which we've had to do over time, and sometimes you get that right and sometimes you get it wrong. There's no formula for that. It's just sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. But then once people are inside your organization, and for the people already inside it, again, if you create that environment, you create those opportunities, like everyone here today didn't start in a marketing position, right? But this is something we've evolved because we've all got an interest in it, and we feel that we can have an impact within the Choklits organization if we do this, right? So that's just one example. I mean, we have educators who work across services now, and we call out for these regularly. So we had, in the case of Emily with Activate, which is our sports and movement program, she had an interest in that. We created the space where she could work not only in her own room anymore, but across our services and deliver that physical education program that she was passionate about, right? And there's 5 or 6 different examples of that. Child with phonics, Zach with judo, Aston with messy play. So we try and again create that environment where people can move into and like you are with this. Right now.
No, absolutely. I get to interview you for a job, and it's such a fun thing that I obviously am interested in doing, and it allows even, let's say, Aston with messy play, as you mentioned, Emily with sports. They are really passionate and interested about that program, that part of their program, and all they get to do is now go to all the services and do what they love doing. So the passion comes out, their interest comes out, and children, they are, as we mentioned earlier, they are sponges of knowledge. They feed off that passion, they feed off that energy. And if I'm doing something that I'm really interested in doing with the children are going to enjoy it 10x more. So yeah, definitely building that sense of community, and as you mentioned, a second family in Choklits. I wanted to ask you more on that as well. When you say you refer to Choklits as a second family, what is your meaning or intention behind it? What does that stand for?
It comes back to creating the environment that we all want to be part of, you know? I mean, we're a group of people that have come together because we believe in a common view, I guess you'd say. We all have a passion for teaching, for learning ourselves, and for sharing that with who will become our next generation and next leaders, right? So, I mean, there's just a lot of joy in creating that environment, right?
That environment,
and not everyone agrees with that, and that's okay. Not everyone agrees with the way that we go about things at Choklits, and that's okay. But the way that Jade and I have always thought about it is that we want everyone that comes into contact with Choklits, be it a family or a supplier or an educator or whatever, to feel better for the experience and feel like they've grown as a person for the time that they were here. Because we know everyone's not going to stay forever, and people want to move on to other things, and that's okay. But we hope, and we go about our days hoping that we can have a positive impact on not just the children, but on our educators' lives as well.
That they look back on their time at Choklits, whether it's like the parents or the children or educators, and they look back at their time at Choklits and remember it like, oh, Choklits side, that was such a good environment to be in. I really thrived there. So that takes a lot to foster that kind of environment. And so moving a little bit away from the professional side of things, I wanted to gain your insight on a little bit of a personal side of things. As you mentioned earlier, that your children were a very big part of Choklits when they were growing up, as it shaped you and Jade and how you run the center forward. I wanted to ask you, what do they think of mum and dad running Choklits? How involved are they with Choklits?
Well, I mean, they still do come here every now and again and earn some pocket money on the weekends and that sort of thing, because we come in a little bit. But well, they've never known any different. I mean, they started when they were lesson 1 with Jodie in the nursery at Ringwood. It's always been a part of their life. They've haven't known any different. But what I can tell you about them is that they certainly know most of the people that work at Choklits, because it is our dinner conversation every night. They do ask about people, the likes of Jodie, who they have a connection with, albeit from 10 years ago now, because they were in that room, So very much a part of our dinner conversation every night. They ask questions about it all the time. And we hope that the way that we go about things at Choklits sets an example for them, and hopefully they can learn a few things, through just being in that environment. So much the same, I guess, as how I learned.
That's what I was going to say. Well. I think they might have picked up on Dad's young curiosity, and they might have picked that up.
I do have 2 very curious young children, so yes, it could be true.
I have here that you are the coach of your daughter's basketball team, and you're also a runner for your son's footy team.
Yes, that's true.
So how do you balance dad life and running 3 services? How do you balance that?
Well, I'm not sure it's a balance. I think, you just do the best with what you can, but the way that I think about it is that I sort of have, I'll give you a bit more of a personal insight.
Yeah.
I sort of have, the way I think about things is that I really care, specifically about 3 things in my life. Number 1 is myself, my physical and mental health, because I don't think if both of those are the best that they can be, I could be anything for anyone else, right?
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
that's number 1 for me. The second are those 2 things for my family. Yep. So anything I can help with them on those 2 things, achieve it, I'll be there. And then third is running and growing Choklits, right? Everything else outside of that, when it comes to life, I'd be honest with you, I don't really do. So getting rid of a lot of other things is probably how it works a little bit. But I know what the priorities are. I know what's important to me. And if I focus on those, then I'm going to be the best for my family, but I'm also going to get to the place that is most desirable or memorable for me as well. So
yeah, and I think those 3 things are quite exhaustive in their own. That doesn't leave much space for anything else to come in between. But yeah, thank you for sharing that insight. Like, it helps us understand a lot more as to how you operate, not only on a day-to-day basis, but also over a larger period of time. So I think that also puts me right in queue to ask you the question that you wrote a book, the Chocolatiers books.
yes, I did.
How did that come about? What's that story?
How did it come
Everyone's
about?
curious.
Okay, well, how it came about was that I was thinking at one point, how do we grow chocolates?
Yeah.
And I always, rightly or wrongly, go to the biggest example I could find and say, what do they do? And is it possible that we might, be able to do the same thing at our own level? Yeah. So I thought about education, well, not so much education, but children, companies that focused on children. I thought of Disney. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
They're
I thought,
definitely the biggest of the biggest.
biggest of the big, right? Which is where I said I'd go for all of my planning and insights and all that sort of stuff. So I said, well, okay, Disney have all these characters. They have movies, they have books, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then the people that enjoy all those and get really lucky, and it's only a small percentage of children on a broad scale understand, then get to go to the ultimate Disneyland and experience it in person, right? So I started thinking, what if we could make chocolates the Disneyland, and then we could build this education infrastructure around it so we could reach more people.
Okay.
Now, we're just very fortunate that one of our members in our community, David Brewer, who is Sue Brewer's husband, is an extremely good illustrator. So we sat in a cafe in Ringwood one day, 6-ish years ago, and I said, I've got this idea. He said, I think I know where you're going with this. Leave it with me. He started sketching, he started drawing. So everything in the Chocolatiers books is 100% authentic, original. We didn't copy it from anyone. It's all from this very early stage and creating it the whole way through. So he came up with a few sketches. We liked it. What we did, which a lot of people may not know about the characters, is we actually looked at our kindergarten 3s and 4s classes at the time. And we took the really prominent personality points of a few of the children and we combined them to make the characters.
I see.
So that's how they come about. And then it just went from there. I mean, we created the first book, Meet the Chocolatiers, to introduce the characters because we knew it was going to become a series. And we wanted people, when they first toured Choklits, to be able to build or start to become familiar with chocolates, because we knew that when children first come, they can have a little bit of separation from mum and dad, anxiety, completely normal. It's a new environment, they're really young. So the more that we could make familiar before they come and address some of those things that they might be feeling in that first book, we thought that if we gave that to mum and dad when they toured us, they could take it home, they could read it to their children, and they could start to build the process. And that's where, and it went from there. So we have our chocolates Hydrate here, and we have a couple of other Chocolatiers products as well. Definitely. But a lot of we've spent a lot of hours and a lot of thoughts going into all the characters. Well, for example, this bottle here, if you're watching on camera, you can see. But you'll notice that right here, you've got 2 characters who are the right way up, and two that appear upside down, and you can
Yeah.
see that in whichever camera it is.
Right.
The reason we did that is because when you actually drink hydrate, the bottle goes upside down, and then you've still got two characters that you can see.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay.
So they're the subtle things that have gone into the Chocolatiers over the years.
Oh my God, that's
So thankful that we've had someone as talented as David be able to execute on this. And they're truly world class. The sketches, the designs that he's gone to, I mean, you could open them in any bookstore and compare them, and they're, they're good or better than anything else out there. So yeah, so we're super proud of that, the book series and where it's been able to go. And then if I can extend on that just a little bit further, our kindergarten class, it must be 3 or 4 years ago now, went on excursion to Chesterfield Farm, which is a local farm here. They have a lot of school groups and also early learning centres that go there to get educated about animals and farm life and all that sort of stuff. So we went there and we actually wrote a book on that excursion. And then fast forward to today, they now sell the book out of their farm. The book gets included in the information packages and that they give to the school kids and the children that come in and do the holiday programs. So it's been a great way to share the Chocolatiers, the story with the, through our community connections and partners. It just makes us, super proud, So maybe not Disney.
No. We're getting there.
But we're getting there. Yeah.
We're getting there,
one farm excursion at a time.
One farm excursion at a time. And that makes the stories so much more, you're able to connect with the stories a lot more because these stories are, obviously maybe not the space one, but the Chesterfield Farm one, like they're based off real life experiences. If not the stories, the characters, as you mentioned, they are not a figment of someone's imagination. They were real children involved in chocolates, and their characters have been based off the strongest personalities. So the children who would be reading them, are reading them currently as we speak, they would be able to connect to those more because they'd be like, I do that.
Hopefully they can recognize themselves in the characters. And take that even further with the Chesterfield Farm. We still, as part of our sustainability program at Ringwood, we collect the food scraps, and then every Friday they go to the farms and they get fed to the pigs, which is in the story as well. So even in summer, in the warmer months when it gets really hard to do that, we freeze them in ice blocks, which become, an ice cream, an icy pole for the pigs.
The pigs, I'm sure they would really love that. So running Choklits, 3 services, owning it, and then focusing on your mental health and your personal physical health as well, focusing on your family as well. What does, if at all, does downtime for you and Jade look like?
Downtime for me is learning.
Is learning.
Yeah, that's where I feel the most comfortable. I'm very poor at relaxing.
I see.
You can ask Jade, she'll attest to this. I like spending any spare time that I have just learning something new, and it could be business related, learning related. I just feel the most comfortable in that environment, and I feel like most things, I'm not a big movie or TV watcher or anything like that, because internally to me it feels like a waste of time. I'd much rather be learning something. So that's how I relax, and that's how I spend my time. That and the a bit of cycling and stuff that I do and that sort of thing, but other things to either clear or reset the mind.
All of the learning that you're spending this time into, that clearly means that there are some big plans ahead. So I think that's what my next question to you is going to be. Where do you see Choklits in the next 5 years? I'm asking you this question in 2030.
In 2030, well, I hope that I'm proud of where we got to. But we want to continue to grow Choklits, both the Chocolatiers reach, and our brand reach, and also the physical centres as well. We certainly feel like the team that we have now is capable and deserves the opportunity to share what we do with more families, and we want to be able to create that. One of the key things for us is that I'm a growth person, but I feel I'm a connected person too. Like, I don't want to be a corporation. It's the number of centres to me really doesn't mean anything. I want to be able to take it to as many families that we can, while at the same time stay connected and do things like this with our team, right? Because we are pretty hands-on and involved owners, as you know, and we want to keep that. So exactly what the number looks like, look, time will tell. But certainly, to add more chocolates services and our philosophy and the way that we do things to do that in more places. Yeah, we want to do that.
Definitely, and it seems like you have that long-term vision and idea of where you want to take chocolates.
Yeah.
But since you've already spent almost a decade now, if we're looking back to 2016, you've spent almost a decade in the early childhood industry, or at least being involved in it. So I wanted to ask you, if you had the opportunity, or if you were in the position to, what would you change about the industry?
What would I change about the industry? Okay, so we are working on a number of things, but I think broadly for the industry is that I think we can think a lot more in terms of families' needs, and we can become more professional in delivering them. So what I mean by that is actually sharing, educating families, for example, on the benefits of what we're doing at Choklits and the reason we do certain things certain ways and not others, and so on and so forth. Because the impact of early learning is often overlooked by parents, and I'll put my hand on my heart, when my kids were 1 and 2 years old, I had no idea the impact that those years were going to have on them for the rest of their life.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what is it, 90% now we understand from science of your brain development occurs before you're 5 years old. Yeah. So if you're doing 90%, you've got to live with that brain for the rest of your life, right? So if you're developing the first 90%, you kind of want to have some sort of structure around it, I would have thought. So yeah, I think we can do better in the education of that. I think we can be a little bit more professional ourselves. But that is not an overnight answer.
Definitely not.
It's something that we'll work on over time, and our philosophy is, as you know, Parth, if we all get a little bit better each day, we'll end up in a really good place in the end. So we'll keep chipping away at that.
Yeah, I think couldn't have said it any better. If we all improve little by little every single day, we'll be in a much better place. And I also agree with you, the fact that a lot of the work that, or the importance of early childhood education goes unnoticed for people who may not necessarily be involved in the industry. I was having a chat earlier, and the amount of traits and unique personalities that you start seeing from a younger age, even before they are in kinder, and then the work that the educators in the room put to foster and cater to those interests, and also at the same time exposing them to new things, to develop new interests that could potentially be careers in the future, right? And all school has this thing, oh, they'll do that in school, or they'll learn that in school, but then they develop those interests in early childhood centers. So it is very important, as you mentioned, like it's important to show the importance of the work, but also, as you mentioned there. So definitely agree with that. Going forward, I wanted to ask you, what would be, for all of our business owners watching this podcast, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to them?
To business owners?
To business owners.
Most challenges, most things that you haven't achieved yet, problems, if you like, that you need to solve, which is the job of a business owner, can be done simply with more volume. So I have a network of business owners. We talk quite a lot, and you get from them and others, but you get some version of the question. I can't find staff at the moment, and there's just no one out there. And then when you break down what they've actually done to try and find more staff, it's like they've done two things. Like they've run one ad and done one social media post. And then you say, well, if you did those two things, is that enough activity for you to solve that problem? It's like, probably not.
Probably not.
Like we over worry and we under execute on what we should do in order to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So I've tried to teach myself now that if you haven't done something 100 times, you haven't started. Because that gets you over that hump of like, one social media post. Okay, great. Well, you could do other things as well, but what's wrong with 100 social media posts? Yeah. What's wrong with, running more ads on more than one platform? Yeah. You could ask everyone you know, not just your 3 mates that you spoke to and you're going to speak to anyway, So that would be my advice. Make sure you do enough volume, which is realistic to solve the problem.
Okay. Volume. So that's the keyword there. We need to increase the volume. So, Matt, I think it's time that we are on the very last question. We're about to wrap the podcast up. For the last question that I have for you is, throughout we've had such a amazing and interesting conversation about your journey, where we went from the plumbing business and we went to the start of your involvement with Choklits to now scaling up to 3 services, and your philosophy about people, culture, and building the most growth-friendly learning environments. My question for you is, what is something that you've learned through all of these things that you wish you knew 10 years earlier?
To trust and back yourself more.
To trust and back yourself more. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We're going to be heading to our rapid fire questions now, round with Matt now, and stay tuned for that.